Hi guys, this is Tina. Welcome back to my channel. So this week for our bulk making mini or series, for our episode, we're going to be bulk making these Matchbox booklets. So all you're going to need is as usual, just your scissors, your glue, corner rounder if you want. You might not even want to round your corners, but if you have one and you want it, bring that along. And then some scraps of paper, or whatever paper that you're wanting to use, maybe some coffee dyed A4 sheets, maybe some 12 by 12 sheets, just whatever you wanted to use today to bulk make our items for today. So I will catch you in a moment. I've just got some scraps of 12 by 12 papers here, which just lend themselves perfectly. They have been obviously trimmed down, not for the purposes of this. This is how they were in my scraps pack. So I've got those. I've got a slightly smaller one there. I've got some plain coffee dyed, cardish type stuff. I have a whole sheet of A4, not A4, sorry, 12 by 12, and then I've got some other sheets here of the A4, printed background pages. So let's get cracking and see how many we can achieve, in this video. So obviously I'm not trying to show anyone how to, teach anyone to suck eggs or whatever. I'm just doing this for the benefit of people who maybe haven't seen these before. So, I'll run through doing, instructions or, method first, and then obviously, I'll quieten down on the instructions. So this obviously is the full width of the 12 by 12 paper sheet, but obviously it's been trimmed down. I don't measure, so I couldn't tell you how big this is. I mean, it looks to me like perhaps, 2.5, maybe 3 inches. So all I'm going to do very roughly is fold up my section here at the bottom, which is going to be my closure, and then we're going to make our bit that tucks in. Now I personally think that would be quite long, so I'm going to trim that down, I think. So I'm going to fold it down more or less to the bottom of the other fold, like that. And then, I can tuck that in like that. So then what I'm going to do is just trim it across here, like that. Like that. And then this bit's going to obviously tuck in to here. That's how it's going to close. So what I like to do then to close mine is, obviously this is your guide for how much glue you can apply to this flap, so you're not gluing them, together. So I just keep it folded over and then apply my glue into this space, like that. Okay, and then just obviously press it down, make sure it's glued really well. So, depending on how fast your glue is, you may need to, weigh it down with something. I mean, my glue is pretty fast drying, but just because we're doing several of these, I might as well just pop my jar on top of it like that. So now we'll make kind of the second one. Now this one obviously is a lot smaller, but exactly the same method. So I'm going to fold my little flap over. So this is just a scrap of, again, 12, from a 12 by 12 sheet, but this one has been coffee dyed. So, and again, I just take that over. Now obviously, because this is smaller in the first place, I'm not going to take it right down to here and trim it. I'm just going to take it to here, roughly halfway. Well, just less or more depending on how you describe it. So basically, so I've got more going to be glued down than tucked under, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to fold it about there, and again like that, and then I'm just going to glue that flap down. So we've then got different size ones going on now, like that. Okay, So again, I'm just going to weigh that down under my jar. Take part of these two. So we've probably kind of, you know, run through enough now that I can be quiet as to, you know, the process of how to actually make them. So this one, again, I'm just going to fold it up. I mean, I said I was going to be quiet about the method and then still like chatting on, so I will stop it now. Right. So if you saw my last episode of this, you know, or saw my trailer, then my plan is to upload these videos roughly once a week. I'm aiming, or going to aim for, a Tuesday. Obviously they're not going to be the most exciting videos because effectively we're doing repeats. You know, we're just bulk making a bunch of stuff. You know, we're not even going to be necessarily decorating things and things like that, because we're just making the basic, like the basic ingredients, I suppose, the basic elements, so that when we come to make a journal, we've got the basic put together, and then you can just pull them out and then decorate them up. So, you know, it's not going to obviously be really riveting stuff, but I'm hoping that you can kind of bring your bits and bobs along. And for anyone else who, you know, like me, maybe struggles to bulk make, you know, I'm hoping that this is going to be a bit more fun than bulk making on your own. So, you know, hopefully you guys will think that. I mean, definitely, you know, we've only obviously done one episode so far, but it's nice to have, you know, the knowledge that I've got those things ready made. Now, unfortunately, you know, because I'm filming these ahead of time and trying to be ahead of the game with the filming, I have not got another ink pad. So, you know, my intention is, once I get a new ink pad, I would probably ink all these pieces up as well as part of the prep process, so that my things really are really ready to go. But obviously I'm having to not do that because, you know, my ink pad is running out. So, okay. But just having even these basic parts done is, I think, going to be quite time saving in the long run. And the reason I'm not decorating anything, and I did, you know, talk about this in the last one, is because I'm hoping that by keeping things really plain, they're going to be much more versatile. You know, I'm much more likely to be able to actually pull something in and use it. Whereas if I've decorated it up, I maybe will feel it doesn't necessarily go with what I'm actually, you know, making. Right, so that's, you know, that was my pure scraps that I've used there. Now, this one obviously is an A4 sheet. So I'm just going to have a look and see how big the piece will be. So not too bad. So I'm going to cut this down here. Again, just, you know, just go for it and don't overthink where you're going to make the cut or anything like that. Now, obviously, you know, again, you're going to really want your text right way up. So, you know, just make sure that you're doing it the right way, if that makes sense. So, for instance, this one, you know, I needed to have, I mean, basically, I think what I'm trying to say is you need the top part of your paper as the bottom part of the embellishment, i.e. the tiny flap that's going to be your closure. And then I'm just going to bring this one down like that. Okay, and again, just run some glue. Yeah, so I hope that everybody's having a good week. I hope you're all, you know, managing to squeeze some crafting in somewhere. It's a strange day today. Kind of keeps going overcast and then, you know, not overcast. It's very strange. I'm not sure what the weather's actually doing. Now, I might not do another one with this. I might keep this for another episode and we'll do something else with that. So, you know, I've got this one. So just keep that to one side. So I've got some of my collage paper here. So this is my Go Gently collage. I think we'll do some with this. Just working out which way round I want it. So like that. And again, I might just keep this half to do something else with in another episode. So again, you want your top paper, you know, your top end to be your bottom flap. Like that. Oops. Yeah, it's a very strange day. It doesn't seem to know what it wants to do weather-wise. Kind of muggy, but you know, the sun's in and out intermittently. I haven't actually heard the weather today, so I couldn't tell you what the weather is actually supposed to be doing. So, I mean, as you can see, my pieces are very different sizes. You know, I've got some quite you know, smallish square pieces. I've got some more rectangular pieces. It's all fine. It's all good. You know, we're not measuring or anything. We're not going to get too hung up on how things are, you know, because that really defeats the object of these videos. What we're trying to do is just do a speedy process so we've got just blank pieces ready to use, really. So this piece here, obviously, this is just A4 coffee dyed card. So I'm just going to cut it lengthwise and make a couple of kind of longish ones. So just going to take the bottom, hold it up, oops, like that. I don't know why I needed to flip that one round, but for some reason it was calling to me to do that. And we talked in the last one about, you know, leaving these pieces plain, you know, rather than obviously decorating them up. So, you know, even though they're made from completely plain paper, i.e. just this coffee dyed paper, you know, I'm still going to leave it plain, because then when I come to use it, I can decide how I want it. So, you know, you might want to add a bit of stamping or something like that, but effectively I'm going to leave it plain, you know, lace wise and embellishment wise and things, because obviously then it's going to be much more versatile as to which journal this can be used for. So again, just, you know, weigh that down and take this one. It's interesting, isn't it, the differences in the coffee dye. You know, you get kind of splashes and splatters, and you know, the other side can be really quite even. I vary how I do my coffee dyeing. I mean, I do love it when the sun's shining and I can go to the garden and just, you know, it's all blowing around the garden, because I mean, it then dries so quickly. I mean, obviously through the winter, having to do it inside is a little bit nightmare-y, because you know, it's spread all over the kitchen if I'm not drying it in the oven, which I do dry it in the oven quite often, but sometimes I find that, you know, I've had the oven a bit hot and then I burn the paper and things like that, so you know, then it obviously goes brittle and it's just breaking. So sometimes I prefer to just let it dry naturally, but yeah, it then is obviously making quite a mess everywhere, and it's a bit of an ordeal to then have to clear everywhere up, you know, just for the sake of coffee dyeing some paper. I do always iron my coffee dyed paper, which again, you know, some papers kind of iron out and smooth out a lot better than others. I'm not making a good job of cutting this. You know, they just variable, I find. But I mean, the irony is I really don't iron anything. You know, I don't tend to iron clothes. I try and buy things that aren't going to need ironing, and then I tend to try and hang them where they're going to just everything drop out. Right, so this is an A4, this is a 12 by 12 sheet. So I'm going to try and make a couple from here. So I'll just cut this piece down here. there. See, the sun's come out now and it's instantly really quite hot. The sun was very, very, very strong the other day. I mean, I was only sat out for a very short time and I thought, oh, you know, feeling quite burning into my skin. So it's really strong. Really strong. So I didn't stay out in it for very long. You know, you have to be really careful, don't you? Because sometimes you really are feeling fine and then you come in and within sort of 10 minutes you think, oh, obviously overdone that. It looks a little bit red, or, you know, feels a bit sore. And often that can happen, you know, on those windy days where it really doesn't feel very hot. So then you're just lulled into this false sense of, you know, oh, it's not too bad out here today, you know. And that's where you want to be really careful, because obviously that's when you can get very burnt. Right, that's that piece. And then we've just got this piece here. Now this one's got this little piece on the bottom, a door with this bird, which obviously this is one of the reasons I would have bought this paper, because I loved that. But despite loving it, I've then struggled to use it. So, you know, the irony really, I don't know whether other people find that, but sometimes the specific things I've bought something for are the things that then prevent me from being able to really get on with using it. But even though I've just said that, I may have to cut that out, because you know, to me that feels like such a waste to then use that really nice image. So I'm just going to cut that out, and again that will just go in my scraps box that I would hopefully be able to maybe tear around it or something and use that somewhere further down the line. So I'll put it there. Now at the moment that's just gone on my desk, so although I've just said I will use that, you know, put it in my scraps box, it may just get buried on my desk, never to be seen again. So that's probably the most likely, you know. So now I've cut it off, not even going to be able to find it, let alone use it. So ridiculous. Right, now I was just having a look at that to see whether I could, you know, get another one out of that. I could. It's going to be quite diddy, but that's fine, because sometimes, you know, sometimes those small ones are really quite nice. So I'm going to trim this down here like that. I'm sure I've probably made an appalling job of cutting this, but never mind. Oops. Just going to fold that bottom piece up. I'm not making a good job of this piece for some reason. And then just, again, take it down. So, I mean, once they're tiny ones like this, I'm more likely to use them as a pull-out, really, you know, rather than stuck to the page. So, you know, it's all good, but I probably would be more likely to use them, you know, as a pull-out. So I'll just trim that, because I did make a terrible job of cutting around. And to be honest, I think it looks a little bit better if it's a bit narrower anyway. Where it's just a short stubby one, it probably doesn't look that great wide. So again, just glue that in like that. So yeah, I hope that, you know, you guys have grabbed some of your stuff and maybe you're making some of these little Matchbox bits. I can't remember now in the last episode, but I think we, or you know, I don't know how many you guys made, but I think I made 12 of those little fold outs, which is brilliant. You know, as I say, I haven't obviously finished them and inked them up yet because my ink's not arrived, you know, well, I've not ordered it. But yeah, I think once I come to use them and they're all there ready to go, it will seem really wonderful. So, you know, although these aren't the most exciting of videos, hopefully you know, we're all doing each other a favour and spurring each other on to just do a few things in bulk. You know, and plus it's really good because it is, you know, using up our scraps and some of our 12 by 12 papers. I mean, I am such a sucker for pretty paper. Always have been. I just love it. Really, really do love it. So always a bit of a sucker. And then I can't bring myself to use it when I like it, you know, really a lot. I can't then bring myself to use it, which is even more ridiculous, isn't it? You know, why buy it and then not even want to use it? But I'm pretty sure I'm not alone in that, because I hear lots of people say, oh yes, I do that. So it's obviously something common to us crafters, I think. So that's my basic pieces. Let me remember to put my lid on the glue. And then again, we can round the corners, we can kind of do various things, all the basic things that, you know, just zap up your time when you're making a journal. And you can really just do all ahead of time. So, you know, you might not necessarily want to round the corners of all of your pieces, but you may want to round the corner of some. I mean, maybe I won't on this one, but perhaps I will on here. Or perhaps you might want to just round the corners at the bottom or just at the top, you know. Just mix them up and, you know, do what you feel like doing with each piece. But I just think this is going to be such a treat to have lots of bits ready and waiting to be used. So I might not round the corners of that one, but I might on this one. There's no, you know, rhyme or reason as to why I'm doing some and not others. I don't, you know, I'm not, there's nothing pulling me to round the corners on some and not others. I just suppose I've got some different looks, you know, suppose I've got some rounded and some not. So there we go. Just round the bottom of this one and not the top. Same here, just maybe do the bottom and not the top. Like that. Oh, this one's so cute, isn't it? And obviously these little Matchbox books, you can have these as a flip up, like that. I mean, you could have them as a flip down. I think I might have even done that before in a journal. So, you know, they would flip down like that. Or you could have them as a side piece. You know, they're quite versatile. So play around with them and have some fun. I might leave that square, actually. I quite like that square. Sometimes do quite like things just square, actually. There we go, like that. So, oops, get rid of all my little corners that have dropped out. So, how many have we done? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we did 12 of the other one. We've done 11 here. Let me check what the time is. It's 24 minutes. So I could probably get another couple done. So again, I've got some more of the coffee dye card just here. So I'm just going to do a couple more in the coffee dyed. Let me put that on the floor to the side. You know, because invariably these are going to prove really useful. So I'm just going to do this exactly the same by cutting straight down the length. Then fold my bottom piece up. Oh, again, I don't think I've made a very good job of that now. My folding is not great today. Now this is where I should really try and hunt down my bone folder or just buy a new one, because they're really not, they're not very expensive, aren't they? And I should really just buy one. But again, it's just one of those things, isn't it, that it doesn't really occur to me to buy when I'm out. I very rarely actually go in shops now, and you know, it's such a shame, because I do think, wow, the high street is dying, you know, which is just tragic, isn't it? You know, I will feel very, very, very sad. but equally, I am guilty of not really going to the shops. You know, I just think lack of time, you know, lack of pleasant experience when you get there, you know, because I mean, you wander around and often it's busy, or it might be hot in the shops, or there might not be a toilet, you know, if you need the loo, or if my daughter needs the loo, you know, things like that. And you just think, oh, it's just more, you know, more hassle than it's worth sometimes. It's easier to just stay indoors and order things from your sofa. But equally, you know, I do think what a terrible shame if all the shops do disappear, you know, which is rapidly happening. Now, I don't know whether that's everywhere in the world or whether that's kind of, you know, more prevalent here. I don't know. But yeah, and the irony is, you know, I used to absolutely love shopping, but it's just become quite unpleasant. I don't know whether that's, you know, once you have children, it becomes not very nice experience going to the shops with children, because as soon as you get there, they're hot, they're thirsty, they need the toilet, they're hungry, you know, all those kinds of things, which puts you off. And then, you know, now I've just got out of the habit of going, so when I do go, it seems, you know, not a great experience, you know, I don't know. But yeah, I think it's sad. I don't think the parking charges help. You know, I know that some places are worse than others. I mean, I don't know. I can remember going on holiday to Florida, and I don't think there were any parking charges. You know, I don't think anywhere we went there were parking charges. That was obviously a long time ago now. It may have changed. Maybe they've introduced them. Or maybe that's across the entire, you know, America. I don't know, because I've only ever been to Florida. But definitely over here in the UK, I don't think that the parking charges are helping the situation. I mean, I'm quite lucky because we live quite near the town and I can walk or bike. But having said that, again, that takes quite a long time then. You know, not as much biking, but walking definitely. So, you know, if you were to jump in your car, or if, you know, if you didn't live anywhere close, so you had to jump in your car, for instance, and go, then, you know, no one really wants to pay all that money for parking, do they? I think the last time I had to park in our town, I think it was £2.60, I think. Now, I can't remember whether that was 1 or 2 hours, but, you know, that's quite a lot of money, I think, particularly if you only actually need to go to 1 or 2 shops, you know. And I just think the councils get enough money, really, with our council tax. So, I mean, probably shouldn't really be on here ranting about it, but, you know, I just think they need to help the high street out a bit and make the parking free, really. Because I'm pretty sure that that would go a little way to helping those shops out, you know, who are otherwise, you know, possibly even going to close down. So, yeah. Right, so that's my other ones there. So I've now got 13. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, unfortunately, I had not noticed, but my camera had switched off. So I've just, you know, gone back and deleted off some things to make some space. It had gone off while I was waffling on about the parking charges. So, you know, but what you missed was I just counted these up basically, and I obviously had 13 now. Didn't want to, you know, have 13 just, you know, in case. Not that I'm overly superstitious, but, you know, I didn't want to leave it at 13. So I just grabbed literally a piece of, you know, scrap paper just from laying around on my desk, and have pulled that in and just made a 14th one, just so I'm on a nice number now. And then I was just going on to say, really, if you are, you know, new to your junk journaling journey and, you know, tuning into this video, you may be now thinking, well, you know, that's fine, but now I've got these 14 pieces, which are just now completely blank, not decorated, you know, pretty useless. You know, what am I going to do with these? So just, you know, want to give you a quick, you know, just chat, I suppose. just to say that, you know, what we've done is make our base piece. So let me just pull in some pieces just to kind of give you a sort of overview, I suppose. So what we've got is now our blank pieces ready for decorating up to pop into, you know, your journals. So the reason I'm not decorating them is because I quite like everything really, you know, matching quite a lot. So by leaving them like this, I've got flexibility, is what I'm hoping. You know, time will tell whether that proves to be the case. So, you know, you've got your blank pieces, and then when you come to use them, you can then decorate them up with all your little bits and bobs. So, well, we'll just decorate this one just to, you know, show really what I'm talking about. I mean, obviously, loads of you do junk journaling and know exactly where I'm going with this, you know, and I'm just, you know, teaching people to suck eggs here and very tedious. But, you know, obviously there are some people who don't make journals, you know, or are new to making journals, who would now be thinking, well, now what do I do? You know, I've just got these bunch of rubbish, you know, sat here. So I'm just going to give you a couple of ideas, you know, of what then the types of things you could do. You know, and you may decide to decorate your pieces, not leave them plain. You may like yours in your stash ready, literally completely ready to go, you know. I may decide to do that later, you know, might decide that actually that is a better way of doing it. For the moment, I'm just leaving it plain and seeing how it goes. Because I just think that's at least saved me some time, the making of the blank piece. But, you know, you maybe would prefer your pieces completely done. So you are, you know, literally just pulling in decorated pieces. So, for instance, this piece here, now obviously my ink pad is dry, and I'm just going to, you know, try my best to ink this up and show you. So I'm going to ink the lace a little bit because this is white lace, and whilst I love using the white lace, I've got ivory lace here at the, you know, on the flap. So I'm just going to ink up my lace, and just going to ink up my piece. This is just like a little label, which again was just laying around on my desk. So, you know, I've not gone to lots of trouble picking out pieces. I've just grabbed whatever was in reaching distance. Obviously, you might not be as lucky as me. You might not have all that mess all over your desk. I'm meaning that as a joke. You may obviously be far luckier than me in that you don't have all that mess around your desk. But, you know, that's just how I like to work, is in amongst all the mess like that. So there we go. I'll just ink this up. This is such a shame that this is not juicy. I'm going to just pour a little bit of water on. This is, you know, I have done this already with this ink pad, I think a couple of times. So, and it seems to just loosen it up, you know, for a little while. So it's really inky, like to the point where, look, you know, unusable almost. But then goes back to being dry pretty quick. So, yeah, it's not necessarily the best trick I've ever used, but just to get us through the rest of this video, it will do. Look, I'm not even having to re-dip it. It's so juicy now. I'll just go around the edges like that. And I'm just going to ink this piece up like that. And then just that piece of lace. Yeah, I hope everyone realised I was joking when I said you might not be as lucky as me. I'm literally joking, meaning, you know, I'm sure that you guys all have lovely, tidy desks, you know. But I like having mine in a mess. So, you know, for me, I find it pretty helpful. Right. Might as well just ink this one up, even though it's ivory, just so it's got a really grungy kind of look now with the rest of the pieces. like that. So I'm going to use this fabric glue that I'm, you know, still deciding whether I like it or not. There we go. Well, the sun's properly out now. Properly out. Right, let's press that down. And then I'm going to have this piece of lace here. I'm just going to pop some pearl trim on there, I think. So I'll just glue that along the edge. Because can you see this has got that seam, so I can obviously glue that along the seam so it's less visible. Right, sorry everybody, I'm back to using the tissue for a moment because I haven't got a wipe that's dried out, so they would be wet, which would then smudge my ink around even further. So sorry about that to those people who don't really like the tissue. Right, just dab it around like that. And again, I'm just going to press that in like that. Okay, and then do with weighing that down, so just weigh that down while I glue on the pearly trim. So there we go. Oops. There we go. So that's kind of a decorated piece, and you know, for me that just came together really quickly because, you know, for me the kind of bulk, or you know, the bulk of the time I guess is taken up making the foundation piece. So having them, you know, ready to go that I just pull in and then decorate, you know, A, is super fast, and B, that's the fun part. So you know, for me that means, oh great, you know, the boring part's done. I've now got, you know, a whole stash of them ready to do the fun part. So excuse my hands now that are very inky, but yeah, so that's, you know, basically the types of things that you would be able to do with your piece. Now I have to be a bit careful because obviously that glue's not dry, but if I just, oops, oh my gosh, if I glued this in, no. So just to untuck that, and actually I should have then inked down there, so let me just ink there because obviously it was tucked in, so I'll just ink that again. There we go. Oops. So that's that piece, obviously opens like that. So, you know, that's how I would use them, and that's, you know, what the goal was. I'm just going to see if I can use a little bit of this gorgeous toffee crunch to just do a bit of decorative stamping somewhere, so maybe here. Oh, it doesn't really show up particularly. A little bit, just a little bit. Oh well, that would do. I mean, you can't really see it very well, but it's okay. So yeah, I'm going to have to obviously leave this piece weighed down because it keeps wanting to come up, but you know, that's effectively, you know, what we're going for, that you've got some pieces that you can then just pull in. But obviously if you wanted to actually decorate all of yours and have them all literally ready to go, then, you know, that would be absolutely great too. You know, each to their own really. So I hope that you've, you know, crafted along with me and it hasn't been too dull making bulk items of the same thing and not really even doing the fun stuff of decorating. But certainly for me, this is very, you know, proven very helpful. So hopefully you guys are finding the same. So hope that you enjoyed it, and I will see you all again next time. Thanks for watching then. Bye.